Good morning, everybody. So the big awaited number is out, negative reaction. I think that was probably to be expected, regardless of whatever the number was. Price is getting closer to the prior high. Qs are closer to it. And so pretty sharp move on the smaller time frames. And took out that low, but it's not what we call major support. That's down here. So this could just be noise for the most part right now. Bostic put a good, oh, okay. And so beginning of the day, futures here so far, they'll chop back and forth at the top of yesterday's range. You can see what's to the left there. And, could have bounced higher, but now we got these pivots up there. Probably some running in place. We'll see if it rolls to the downside and whether it does a little double top. Not really an M top because this is really a momentum move. This was a little downside shakeout and a one-day wonder. Just made the higher low. So just overall day-to-day, a couple of days of strength, resistance, downtrend. In the weekly, just neutral. Looking at different time frames, little rejection of, the dip. We'll see where the day ends and whether that's a green bar at the end of today or a red bar. I don't believe it would go back down to the low of the week. Usually jobs day follows direction of pre-market move. Well, it makes sense, McGraw, just looking at, this move here, just the size of it initially, and it is, in an area of resistance. And so what'll be of interest at the end of the day is how far this closes into this bar. Does it close below the low, at the low, in the middle of the range? And so can it get back up above the high? Just an inside bar so far. I have written down 39.50 and 37.90. So, as this is coming up, 39.60 possibly, yeah. 39. 40 cents by 50 cents. It's where we were months and months ago, right? But if this comes up, so look, we're just inside day here. We look at SPY and traveling up into here, the same little bounce. So marking where it was, the initial gap down. It's only 908. So we'll see where it is at the open. But this tail right here, that bar, that red bar, the low of that bar is going to be a support point. You can see, on the 15-minute chart, it's that gap reversal. So looking at SPY, it's well above that right now, but that would be your significant reference point. Coming down to the pivot on the 15, so the length of this consolidation. So it was at 385.5, and it was down here. So gapping below that, and of course that's a bearish start to the day. So assuming it continues to go down, that would be, the downside area where somewhere in here you see those two pivots on the 15, which is, this is the low of that bar the day before yesterday. So that 380 level, if we have a downside move, to get beyond that would be out of the ordinary, right? That obviously would be a big bar. So it closed here and you can visualize a red bar like this one coming all the way back down. But you see, like got to that bar, it likely would stall there. So the idea of the daily range and range expansion bars, and some look at average true range over a period of time, which I find that helpful as an indicator to add to scans when you want things that have an average true range larger than whatever you're looking to trade, or maybe you want something small. But these type of things are good for scanning. Anyway, so down there, I would say there's a significant area to hold, right? About 380. So as we look at SPX, right, it's this, right, 3809-ish, right? That's that low right there. So getting below that should be, right? Everything should be okay, based on the things that I'm looking at here and explaining. The idea of going down there. Now, if the market's, is at 930 and they head lower, well, you might be able to get down here, so that's, we're just looking at that. Yeah, well, they haven't been, big put buying this week. Yesterday morning, I was like, okay, it's on the call side, the bets were on the upside. And so now, I looked at this chart. Now it's updated as of last night, and we've got this put call ratio moving average, all the way up here near 0.80. And breadth yesterday wasn't that great. I mean, it was okay. It was okay. I'm just saying, the oscillator there didn't move it that far, but in the morning it was good, up, around 2000. And so, and it stayed pretty good throughout the day. But now this is above 100, and just, comparing this, let me just do this here. Just kind of line things up. Yeah. So this isn't above that high. It's coming close to it, but even here, right, it didn't get that high. So when we see these bounces off of the low and we start thinking, hey, is this different in that could the bear market be over? Well, what we're going to want to see is this breadth number. As this comes off of a low, it's going to blast through 200. And here it just barely peekabooed above 100. So not impressive. But, again, we'll see where things end up. So you've got this pivot high at 39.45. And if the premium is still there at the open at 39.50 or better, if it should pick up, what's the probability? This is, trading around here, getting back up above there. It could, it's not a no-brainer, but starting off in a negative mode, get all the way back up there. I think it's low probability, but if you can go 39.60, if it certainly do it. And down here at 37.90, right, down below 3,800, down below this low right there, 39.55.80. Yeah, sure. I like that. I think that's good. 39.55 by 80. Sure. And, at the end of the day, I would say everything gets contained somewhere within here. We'll see where this ends up at the end of the day. That's what we do. What's the trend? What's happening? Did it violate the trend? And so let's make the point. Our major resistance is up here, the high prior to the lower low. This is not major resistance. And this is why often, and this happens even intraday, where you have a giant momentum move like this, and it makes a higher low, higher high, and it forms a sell setup there. And that's where it tends to roll back over again. Now, the distance here is typically, when you get that, the weekly chart, right? This isn't going up there today. So it's kind of off. I think just based on what we see here pre-market, it's more likely that this just double tops and comes back down again. But sometimes this makes a much higher low, comes here, and then it'll go up. It'll come up there. And on the daily, the weekly, you get what just looks like a normal sell setup within the downtrend. So, all right. So everything else, anything showing relative strength or weakness, this showed the relative strength. I said at the beginning of the week, this was going to be the one that was going to outperform because of the way it came down. It reached its destination, so to speak, yesterday, closing the void. It could have gotten a little higher today to that prior high, of course, but now that doesn't look like that's going to happen, right? Just based on this initial move down. Common sense, support here, yesterday's low. And at the end of the day, how deep does this get and close into the large bar? That's what we're going to be interested in going into the, next week. Right? What does the weekly chart look like and so on? So consolidating within a downtrend, it had a resting period. And so assuming negative close, the NASDAQ tech starts to show some relative strength. That's my thought going into next week, assuming we get a negative close. Since it led the way down, it shows relative strength by just not going down as much. But we'll see, right? We'll see how it all shapes up next week. The Dow, just no big deal, right? Dipped it down and really didn't break below these lows, so showing a little bit of relative strength. And the Russell just up there at the top of the range, really not a big deal. So it's not completely decisive to one side being, bearish completely, or certainly bearish to neutral. And we'll see how this shapes up in the first, 5-10 minutes or so. Bitcoin's down. It's reached some resistance there. It was able to peekaboo above that pivot high. So that is at least the beginnings of a good sign and part of the relief of the market, Bitcoin getting back above 20,000. And you might remember yesterday, I said, I think in the green room, I don't know if I said it here pre-market, but it's like, market is kind of, just kind of looking at this movement up in the 3-month and it's like, who cares? And to some extent, you say, well, are they just blind to it? They don't care, because this is more lined up with thinking the Fed is going to have to do the 75. And, this was up the other day. It gapped up big. The dollar's been going up. And of course, that is, affecting yield curves. This, it's a while before this gets to anywhere near inversion, but you can see down here, this one is down here. I think the 2 for the 10-year is just hovering around 0. It may be inverted a little bit, give or take, but nothing good there. And, you hear talk of, interest rates came down. Well, yeah, they came down and now they're popping back up, and, all the commodities that came down and all that. And, they showed some strength yesterday. Explain dollar gold versus the dollar, or the gold. Son was asking me about XAU versus the dollar. So you're looking at gold measured in US dollars. Gold is crap right now, right? I'm not shining nowhere, but there's a different way of looking at it. Like that helps that the dollar is going up, right? So this is showing relative weakness to the dollar. That may be the one way of measuring, if you want to look at that relative strength chart of the gold versus the US dollar. Look, this is collapsing. The US dollar is ripping higher, and that's normal. Right. So when the dollar starts to fall, maybe gold will be at an area of price support down here, right, at 1680 or lower. And that might be a good opportunity. That'll be a way of saying, hey, gold is down here at support. Look at these two pivots, and maybe it falls in a climactic way. And we say, all right, does the dollar start to fall? And we see, this kind of a pattern there where you get a bottoming tail bar that breaks the lows, and we say, all right, let's buy some gold. Well, right now, maybe little bounces within, it's a little extended there. All right. And oil, retracing back up, moving up there. So inflation, markets day to day, schizoid. I don't know why this is having this issue. Anyway, let's move on so it doesn't get too late. But you can see copper bouncing up a little bit. If we could get to that, you could see the there's the euro bouncing a little bit, but you can see the breakdown here. So you saw the dollar going up. Nothing to be. I don't think silver, the dollar are going to do much of anything. Interest rates moving up. And transports, had a decent day. We'll see where they end up today. But look, downtrend. Trend is down. Let's ideally, from my point of view, get the things rolling to the downside, get down to some more significant support. And then from there, we see if we get some summer rally thing going. To you, Dan.
Yep, I totally agree with that scenario, but so many other people do. And we're going to be active traders in the meantime, as we always are. Been doing very well with these put spreads. And I posted a bunch pre-market, and you might be thinking, well, why are you so bullish? It's like, well, look at every pattern I posted. And they're over yesterday's high. So that means they have to negate the gap down. So that snap, bottoming pattern, shop, bottom, yesterday's high looks great, and it's gapping down. So then it'll have to negate this and rally $1 or so to get back up there. Costco had some numbers. Looks great. I gave 30-minute high on that. FCX bottom right was coming in. I'm trying to get price improvement. We have a bunch of opens still. Tesla for next week looks great. That's always a good 0 DTE candidate. Also, Apple and Microsoft both down. GME down. We actually have a half lot of the 115s, which I had already moved the stop under here, so we're fine there. And I'm looking to put one on for next week, so I'm glad we didn't do it yesterday. Yeah, well, they said he got fired, so whatever. All right, any questions on our opens? Just ask. Team, I just sent out an alert. We have a covered call that I'll be looking to roll. So that was perfect. We sold the 212.50s, and now it's gapping under. So that we lowered the cost basis $3. Still got our stop in place. Upstart here getting whacked. So that's a nasty gap. That's a nasty. Can you believe this? $400 to 27. So it looks absolutely horrible. But believe it or not, it's on my watch list to short a 0 DTE put if I get a setup. Right now, that's a nasty pre-market. Yeah, UPS, we already have a put spread, but yeah, it's on my list for a directional for maybe the weekend, for Monday, that is. W, retail, another bottoming pattern. Oxy, CNBC was talking about Buffett um, now up to 18.9% ownership. My gosh, that's a big ownership. And so I got a pattern that confirms it. I got a W bottom. So I posted 2 put spread ideas on that with different expirations. These are 3 currency euros. You know, we were talking about the pound getting killed. Here's the euro FXE. And that was a nasty crack right there, but look at the monthly. You know, I don't look at futures, so I'll just look at the ETFs. Spirit still jerking around. They postponed their meeting again on you know, buyout vote, so they can keep talking to their so-called suitors. That's a big gap up, nothing to do. SRG, big gap up, but that was a nice bottoming pattern yesterday, daily, weekly. Made a new low, snapped right back, went sideways, closing breakout. That was nice, but now the gap's too big. iHeart, it cracks me up when these friggin' idiots come out and now he's giving it a downgrade. It's like, what is that guy's purpose in life at whatever firm that was? Something goes from $28 to $7. Oh, I'm going to write a report for my clients and downgrade it. I mean, I don't know what that person gets paid. I just think that it just is so retarded. It's like, what are you doing for me? Me being the client, right? Because a firm pays them and writes a report, and who's benefiting from that information? Let's see, Delta 20, asking about Beyond. Hey, Delta 20, I don't think you're a subscriber of ours, but I know you're always there on YouTube, which is fine. You're welcome to. But I just want you to know, Delta 20, this was in last weekend's weekly options trader to sell a put spread over last Friday's high. So we already took our profits. We covered half on Wednesday, and back half we closed at 2 cents. So now it's up 4 bars. It's just not the technical place to put on a new put spread here. 4 bars up, market iffy. All right, so you can watch it on a pullback. Musk ruffling his feathers again, threatening to walk around away from Twitter. So that's just a total avoid. I mean, I got no interest in jumping in front of that Elon Musk Twitter device. Mara, look at the volume yesterday. Is this one of the Bitcoin mining companies? So it could be the start of a bottoming pattern. ITW had earnings or whatever. Now, do you all see the just absolute obvious double bottom on this pattern? That is a textbook W. Momentum moved down, retraces less than a third, and comes back and makes some retest and some flavor or another. So now we're gapping down on some earnings noise. So I'm going to watch this, because if it recovers, then that is a fantastic double bottom on after earnings. So the volatilities should remain high, and it's a good pattern. So I love those. All right, NUS, a bearish gap down here. I said 30-minute low, we can short it. break down daily, weekly, monthly. But I'm not going to rush into it. Let's see if it can't bounce for 30 minutes. Crust, I think it earnings or something or other. No pattern. Hey, Debbie. Debbie's up early today. This is getting whacked 181. Oh, that's a big gap. But here again, I'll keep an eye on it to see what happens. If I get a 15-minute wide range green bar, then I will consider a 0 DTE put spread. But on something, when I do these damaged gap stocks, it's just 0 DTE is all. Lee. Now here's a double bottom also with what we call a new low plus, coupled with a bear sandwich. Now we have a gap up, but the gap's too big. So look at the volume. So sometimes you get spikes into earnings, sometimes you get paid, sometimes you don't. This volume, they got paid. It looks like somebody knew something there. Cost we talked about. All right, so GME, we did a beautiful 0 DTE yesterday, or I did. I got out of mine where we still have half, which we should be totally fine. That expires today. We got $13 a cushion. Let me just see what those 115s are anyway. GME. 115s, well, they're spready, unfortunately, 14 by 32. But yeah, I mean, even if we hit the stop, it's going to be at a huge profit. So just let it play out.
Amgen breaking out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put that in the bottom right here. Yeah, I actually was looking at that last weekend's letter for put spread where there was no juice for some reason. We got sell setups on the 5-minute.